Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. We are a man down tonight, only in Speedway. So the story is, he says he's lost his wallet. I'm not sure whether he's dropped his wallet on his foot.
I think he'd have heard it drop.
And, you know...
You can't take him anywhere, can you?
No, he's useless. He's absolute. Where should we begin? Where shall we begin?
At the start, I think. So
okay, at the start.
We usually make it as we go along anyway, don't we? So.
That's true, yeah. I know, yeah. We've got an interview coming up later on as well with Lawrence. It's only a couple of minutes, but well worth listening. And we've got meetings to predict.
Yeah. Big bank holiday weekend, of course, that we've had, so we've had a lot of action. So
injuries as well.
Yeah, we have, and of course, obviously, we send our best wishes to all the riders that have been injured, including, of course, for the two clubs that we back. Daniel Hume, of course, suffering another injury last night down at Kent. So we wish Daniel all the best. He's really had some rotten luck with that injury, hasn't he? And a really bad smash at Monmouth Green last night involving Rory Schlein and Carl Howarth. And
what's the update on that?
Well, the update on Rory is that he's comfortable in hospital. It looks like it's potentially going to be a season ending. I mean, of course, he's only just come back from injury himself anyway. Carl Howarth should be okay to ride tomorrow down at Somerset, so that's positive news. But obviously, of course, we send our best wishes to Rory, and of course, I think everybody in the sport sends their best wishes to Dan Bewley as well, who had a horrific accident at Workington on Saturday, and by all accounts, they asked everybody to leave the stadium and abandon the meeting, so to air it before they airlifted him to hospital. So prognosis with him is I think two broken bones in his leg, broken femur, with 6 month recovery time. So everybody but you know, he's positive, and he's already talking about next season. They're crazy, aren't they? These Speedway riders. So
the best thing about these Speedway riders is they seem to bounce back. They're sort of like subhuman, aren't they?
Well, they have to be at the end of the day. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I suppose they're earning a living, and it's not like in football, obviously, where they're earning massive amounts of money anyway, even when they're sitting around doing nothing. Exactly. You know, it's performance. They're paid as per their performance. If they don't perform, they don't get paid as much. So,
yeah, that's true. We'll get straight into it. I've got a couple of comments here. Ben's been goes on about he shared the stream. Well done, Ben. If you want to share the stream, it's quite easily, and you'll be in the draw for a t-shirt. Hopefully you'll talk about last night's meeting at Central Park. Both sets of riders produced some stunning races, only marred by the unfortunate injury to Hume. Get well soon, Daniel, from all at Kent. Yeah,
absolutely,
so,
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I did see the updates, and they said there was some terrific racing down there last night. So I mean, it's not a track that I've been to, but yeah. So that's good, and it was a decent result for Birmingham, to be fair, to get a point down there, especially with the Millwall meeting on Sunday being called off, and we've also got that crucial meeting tomorrow night against Coventry. Birmingham not quite in the playoffs yet, but I think in the box seat to get it, but still got a little bit of work to do in the matches left.
Yeah, Paul Woods' endurance night at Monmouth.
Just a bit. Well, of course, I should first of all say somebody was taken ill in the bar before the meeting last night, so they had to. That was a bit of a delayed start while they got the ambulances in to move this person out, and I'm told, thankfully, he's okay. I think I don't know whether he's still in hospital in Wolverhampton, but he's on the mend and getting better, so that's good news.
Sorry, I didn't mean subhuman. I meant superhuman. Wendy says, Interleague Challenge team needs a rethink now.
Somebody mentioned that to me last night at Wolves because I mean, Wolves, even with we'll come on to the Bellevue match a bit later on, of course, but even with the result last night, it's probably not going to be in the playoffs. So the Olympic, or the end of season Olympic is scheduled in, but that's not scheduled in till October the 15th. So you're probably looking at 4 or 5 weeks of no action at all, and then one meeting, and that's it. So maybe someone suggested maybe a Midland Challenge Group Championship or something to sort of keep matches going.
Keep the interest alive.
Keep the interest alive, yeah. Just to maybe, because it's as we say, it's a long old winter. I mean, we don't know what this winter's got in store for Speedway, whether there's going to be any substantial changes to the league setup or anything. So promises to be an interesting winter, I think.
Yeah. When he comes up with Dan Bewley, femur broken in 5 places, right upper arm broken, and left wrist or the other way around.
Yeah, but hopefully, he'll recover from that pretty quickly, and he's got a winter now to sort of get himself rested, and because he's a fantastic talent, I think anybody who's, particularly this season, he's really stepped up a gear this season, and great prospect for the future, and we send all our best wishes to Dan.
Paul's come back. I'm not sure what he's commented on, but he says it ain't happened yet, and I think the costs have to be reduced a bit for Browne and Eagles and Middle Hall to join. I'm not sure.
I think that's moving up a league.
Oh right, moving up a league. Yeah. Okay.
So.
Well, I've got a lot on proposed changes. We could talk about that later.
Oh, we could do, yeah.
What's been happening in Speedway?
Well, first of all, of course, we had the GP on Saturday in Gorzoff. Another slightly delayed start, of course, because of the weather, but they managed to get the track right, and probably wasn't the great racing in terms of entertainment, but a great meeting for Martin Vashlik, who won his first GP of the season. Of course, I think he's won there before on the track at Gorzoff about 2012, I think it was, but. Great result for him after missing, a lot of the early part of the season through that injury that he sustained at Leicester, whilst riding for Leicester at Swindon earlier in the season. Bartosz, so he finished with the top scorer with 18 points alongside Bartosz Marslik, who was probably the best rider, to be fair, but just fell short in the final. And well, for Britain's Ty Wuffington, not his best night, didn't win a race, but still managed to get 3rd place. So 17 points clear now at the top. Is Ty, with Bartosz Marslik in 2nd. I think Bartosz is probably the only one now who can realistically catch him, and it's interesting because, of course, he has outscored him in the last 3 GPs. But 17 points is still quite a bit to make up with a few rounds that we've got left. So he's riding well, Bartosz Marslik, but I think he might just run out of GPs to reel Ty in. Ty's did most of his job earlier in the season, to be fair. So he's got to be still in the box seat to get that 3rd World Championship.
Just turned in, just tuned in. Mr. Buck on his own tonight, all night. No, he's not. I'm here as well.
Of course, yeah.
Hiding.
I'm fine. Don't worry. I am fine here on my own. It's all right.
No. It's Tom also says top 4: Kings, Lynn, Poole, Somerset, and Bellevue. Wolves got no chance, I'm afraid.
Unless Wolves can suddenly pick off 2 fantastic away wins at Somerset and Poole, I would agree with that, Tomo. It's doable, but I think again, yesterday, of course, at Bellevue, 2 points up, 2 points behind with 3 races to go, and then conceded 3-5-1s to lose the meeting by 12 and not even score a point was very disappointing. But got to say, last night, what a hell of a meeting it was last night. It didn't finish till about 10:30, maybe even after half past 10 as well. So because of the amount of falls and such a dramatic. Night of action, he'd had everything. He'd had,
everybody stayed.
Thrilled. Yeah, most. I don't think anybody left, to be honest. It was close all the way through, but really, with 5 riders to beat Bellevue was just an astonishing result. And I think Bellevue are going to have to be massively disappointed not to beat a 5-man Wolves team last night, because if they'd have won last night, I think they would have really put themselves in a strong position to get that last spot in the playoffs. But they're still in the box seat, but they're still going to have to do a little bit of work over the last few weeks of the season. Bit of an interesting incident with former Wolf Mark Riss and Sam Masters. I didn't see quite what it was about, to be honest. I just filling my programme and heard the crowd go ooh when I turned round, and Sam Masters was lying on his back. So there was a bit of an incident. I don't know what the full story behind it was, but I think that probably galvanised a lot of people in the crowd as well. It was.
What are your ideas?
It was absolutely. This is one thing I've always said. You can go to a meeting and if the racing isn't brilliant, but it's a good atmosphere, it makes a poor meeting seem better.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse for me than going to a meeting where it's poor racing and there's no atmosphere, because it just feels like you're just wasting your time and it's dragging. So, but tremendous meeting, massive crowd. Bellevue always bring loads of people, and To be honest, Bellevue Wolves over the last few seasons has become quite a fierce rivalry. To be honest, there's one or two people that may be taking a little bit over the top, and that which did happen again last night, unfortunately. But most of it was in. Most of it, I think, was in.
You want that sort of thing, really. You want banter. You don't want nastiness, but you don't want a bit of banter, don't you? As long as it don't turn a bit.
I've been to countless Wolves crowd meetings where it's been raucous at meetings. So, and it's part of the fun, really. As long as it doesn't overstep the mark, then there's nothing wrong with a bit of needle. I've always thought so. As long as it doesn't get to a point where it crosses the line, that's fine.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's what Speedway needs, because there's too many meetings that you go to and it's like a morgue, and it just isn't enjoyable then. So.
Tomo disagrees. He says they called you Buck Dingle for some reason.
No, what? Dear me.
I know. I think Ryan getting injured meant you won the meeting. To be honest, it did you a big favour.
I would say it's probably not too much of a harsh thing to say that. In fairness, Rory Schlein hasn't had even with his injury, he hasn't been in the best of form over the last couple of months of the season. And we picked up quite a few points from his rides, which maybe he might not have done. So it probably, in a perverse way, even though it obviously weakened us, it strengthened us at the same time. So, but the most important thing was to try and keep the season alive. And there's still a glimmer of a chance of getting in the top four, but I think it's going to take a big swing. No away wins so far, and with 2 away meetings coming up, Wolves have got to get something out of those 2 away meetings. But Somerset and Poole are both going to be difficult meetings to get a result from.
How many meetings left now?
There's 2 meetings. There's Somerset tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Kings Lynn is the last home meeting. That's next Monday, and then next Wednesday we go down to Poole, and that's the last league meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. In answer to your question, Tomo, Jay hasn't run away with the Swedish blonde, so
sounds to be a fine thing. Yeah. Paul Wood says, let's see if Dan Bewley goes after he returns from injury. We have seen young promising riders before. Some have lost it after a hard crash with serious injury. Yeah, that has happened, doesn't it?
It has happened before.
It has happened,
yeah. But the medical attention they're getting is excellent. So he's got a. It's not as if it's early in the season, so he's going to miss a whole campaign of racing as well. He's come towards the end of the season, in fairness, so he was going to be able to get himself fit over the winter and be back for the start of next season, hopefully. So I suppose the most important thing is he doesn't rush back.
No,
he doesn't want to rush back before he's ready and make it worse, which I think has happened before with riders.
Yeah. It's career changing. A lot of these injuries, aren't they? Really.
Well, this is it. So.
Eric says, going back to the BSBA, he says in the winter, he says, I can't wait to see which way BSBA go this winter with the league. Well, it's a lottery, isn't it?
Well, of course, we've seen what's happened with Birmingham staging this inter-league challenge against Peterborough on the 12th of September, which promises to be an interesting one. Judging by what David Mason said on the centre green before the meeting, I think it's something they are strongly looking at, possibly moving up, but I think they want to see what the what the crowd's going to be like. There's going to be, of course, Rory Schlein was scheduled to ride in that meeting. I think that's unlikely now, but it's going to be good to see Chris Harris back at Perry Bar and a few other old faces as well. And Peterborough have had a very good season in the championship, so they should be quite tough opposition even for a strengthened Birmingham side. So I'm looking forward to that meeting. It promises to be a cracker.
Thomas says, am I right in thinking that we can't replace our injured Daniel and Wolves can't replace Shine?
I believe that's true, yes. Because the deadline's gone now, so.
Oh yeah, of course. Alan says, a 6-man team beating a 7-man team by 14 with 1 point at RR is a great result.
It is, yeah. It was so to only have 5. Obviously we mentioned that probably Wolves were probably better without Schlein than with bearing in mind his scoring, but with 5 riders to, as I said before, Bellevue have got to be disappointed with that result because that was a meeting there for them to take, but they just missed it at the end. So
I'm going to attempt to. He can hear me, but I'm going to attempt to bring GA in on this. I think he might be online now. Matt just says you have looked in your pocket, haven't you?
Yeah.
Tell Matt the second word's off. You heard, I'm guessing.
Okay. So we've I don't know if you've been listening, Mike, but we have covered a few bits and pieces.
Okay, no, I haven't been listening because I've literally just got the phone. Yeah, you just absolutely. Oh.
I'm going to pass the phone over to Matt, and then I can get your sound right. Okay, so
testing 1 2 3 4.
We can hear.
This is brilliant, isn't it? This is.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right. So what have we been talking about, gents?
Well, the JP, obviously, we started off with that, and Ty's in a strong position. He didn't have the best of meetings on Saturday, of course, but still 17 points clear with 4 rounds to go.
How he got into that final's a miracle.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, he's just doing the bare minimum. So, did you see the meeting?
I saw the meeting, yeah, or most of it anyway, yeah.
What was your take?
He said. Go on.
What was your take on the Janowski Pedersen incident? Because I've got to be honest, I didn't see what Nicky did wrong there. To be honest,
I didn't see what he did wrong at all. And I'm not an apologist for Nicky Pedersen by any stretch of the imagination, but I didn't really see anything wrong. But it's like we've said before, isn't it? It's hangers on getting involved.
Yeah, I think there was one in particular. I think it was one of Magic Janowski's picker. I think I'm right in saying it was actually his father that was the one that sort of ran hundreds of yards and then pushed Nicky Pedersen down the hill. I think they're both. I think Magic's been fined. I think it was €12,000 for that, and Nicky Pedersen's been fined €300 for poor conduct. Yeah. So I mean, they won't pay the fine anyway. It'll be the sponsors that'll probably pay it, but. Yeah, it's a shame really because it shouldn't. It should be sorted out between the riders, not with other people getting involved. That shouldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I will say is, on track, I didn't see that Nicky did anything wrong at all. But he's very good, isn't he, at winding people up once he finds a way in.
Well, he's done it for years, to be fair. So.
Yeah, and you'd think people would realise now and just not engage, but he's just good at it, isn't he? You've got to give him his due. He's good at that.
I think the fact that he's there just annoys people, to be honest. But it's great box office, and a lot of the riders probably wouldn't forgive me for saying this, but I think the JP would be a much duller place with that Nicky Pedersen in it. So
yeah, there's no doubt.
Okay, fair. Admittedly, he might not be the rider he was, but he's still capable of popping up and causing a bit of controversy. Aside from that, of course, we had the point last night for the Brummies at Kent. A good result, marred, of course, by losing Danyan.
It was a good result, but it's made it very, very difficult now with Danyan going. I can't imagine, obviously. The broken collarbone, riders do come back quick from broken collarbones, but
yeah,
I can't see him playing any part in the season. Can you?
Yeah, it's a real shame. If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all with these with the injuries. But
the injuries, it's ridiculous.
So,
it was. I was there, and I've heard some people blame the track, and there obviously was some sort of hole or something on that third and fourth bend because all the riders came out from both sides and showed a lot of concern. There was riders picking up rakes and trying to pat things down. Everybody was getting involved in it. So there was obviously something, but happens, doesn't it?
These things happen at the end of the day, and there's been issues with tracks. I think in the up and down the country this season. So with the issues with the shale and the weather. So
I will say something about it in this sense, though, which did surprise me. There was no track grading at all until Heat 10.
Oh, that's a
no
surprise.
Track grading whatsoever. Yeah, nothing at all. They was getting through the heat. I think we had the first 10 heats in about 45 minutes or something. Might have been a bit more than that. And then they graded it in after, and then that was when all the trouble started. So I don't know what to make of that, but it is weird not to be grading the track during the meeting, isn't it? I've never seen that before.
No, that is a surprise to be fair, because it's usually after every 4 races that they've got. I know they don't rake the track at Birmingham anymore. Well, they don't have the rakers anymore, but obviously they do go around with the tractor. But yeah, a bit of a strange one. So
yeah, well, as I say, I've never experienced that before. So, but my first visit to Kent, I had a chance to go because it had been a bank holiday. Because normally I wouldn't have time to get down there with it being a 6:30 start. It's a great little stadium. I did think when I looked at the track, I thought, all my life, I wouldn't like to ride it. There's not a lot of space there.
what was the crowd like?
It wasn't too bad for a National League meeting.
Yeah.
Decent. Not many Birmingham supporters there, but a hell of a long way.
It is a long way to be fair. So
it's over a 300-mile round trip, so it's about 340 miles, I think, something like that, round trip. Yeah, so me and a few other idiots did it. Then it's a shame, isn't it? I mean, if Daniel Newman hadn't had that crash and got the third place, we would have, we'd possibly have had a draw. Because I think we could have got a 5-1 in the last two. I think we was on a 5-1 after the first running of it.
But I suppose
it was one of those.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue really that was really a bonus last night, because I don't think many Birmingham fans would have been expecting to get a result down at Kent, or of course. When I was going down there, I was hoping we'd get a point, but the first 5 or 6 heats, I was confident we was going to win the thing. Yeah, well, it was a good performance. As I say, it was a very good performance from Birmingham. You couldn't fault that. So.
Yeah, and I sort of said to Lawrence Rogers, and he agreed, that we'd sort of sent a bit of a pointer out to other teams, and maybe more than all looking at that, because they're obviously going to top the league. Maybe looking at that, they might not choose Birmingham.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, Lawrence Rogers just said they were rushing it through because they were doing the Bent Fund collection. I did ask for a track grading.
Well, right, okay.
So,
okay, well, I mean, I don't know whether it's a safety issue or not, but I have to say the track up until Heat 10 was fine, and it was only after that things started appearing. And, it happens. We've had it happen at our track before now, so I don't think we can afford to be holier than thou over it.
And Paul Wood says Len Silver prepares a perfect track all the time, or so he says. That's a bit of a controversial one, I think. So.
Yeah, he does say that.
Yeah.
But, it's an art, not a science, and preparing tracks. So I'm not gonna. I don't know enough about the subject to have too much of an opinion. So we've had holes appear in our track before now. I'm sure you've had them at Wolverhampton on the odd occasion. So,
well, I mean,
it just happens.
Well, I think days gone by, of course, Paul's used to Mum McGreen and practically demolished the place trying to get round it. But these days, the younger Polish riders can adapt to the small tracks very, very quickly, because they get practice on doing that at home. So it's a good position to be in, really.
Since Lawrence is there listening to the show, I was wondering if he could answer a question for me. He might not want to, of course, because I'm being slightly controversial here. On the fans that were there, we were more than a little bit upset, shall we say, with Mr. Paul Hurry, who seemed to be taking riders a little bit wider. I'm being nice here, a little bit wider than perhaps he should have done. And I think it was Daniel Hume and Leon Flint seemed to be having a word with him on the way back after a race. I was wondering whether he's got, were our riders a little bit miffed about that, because it certainly felt that way at one point. And I did make the comment that if he hadn't put on quite so much baggage, we'd have got past him.
well, Lawrence, the floor is yours if you want to respond to GA there. So
I think Dan Shane's might have been from memory, but anyway, So we were a little bit miffed, shall we say, about some of the manoeuvres.
In fairness, I remember when Paul Hurry rode for Wolves, he's always been, a very feisty, tough rider, to be fair. Anyway, so that doesn't massively surprise me about that, to be honest. But
it doesn't surprise me.
No, that's it. So, but of course, Birmingham with that. I mean, you missed it, of course, last Wednesday, but a very, very comfortable win for the Brummies against a Stoke team that was very, very disappointing. I would say Stoke were the worst team I've seen at Perry Bar this season. So
it was nice to hear, because I was obviously in Sweden, but I was following the match, much to my girlfriend's chagrin. I had to buy her a bottle of wine afterwards. I was following the match live on the it was nice to see Callum Walker getting in the points and disproving a few of the naysayers over the past couple of weeks. And he looked, I know he didn't score that many points last night, but he scored useful points. I mean, when we got the 4-2 in the first heat, it was like, oh, hold on, we might be onto something here.
That's right. It was a very, very good team performance. It was a very good team performance, to be fair. So I mean, admittedly, you can only beat what's in front of you, I suppose. But these are the meetings really that Birmingham need to make out now. I mean, Coventry again tomorrow. That's going to be a meeting that Birmingham need to get full points from if possible. So because they're not quite, obviously Birmingham not quite in the top, not quite guaranteed a place in the playoffs yet, but. I think not far off. I think in the box seat, to be fair. So,
well, we have to look at the Daniel Hume situation and try and be a little bit more positive about it, because it's got to be a facility. I don't think we're allowed to sign a rider now. I think the cut-off date's gone, hasn't it?
That's right.
So it has to be rider replacement, which of course puts, and it's a shame because the only one of our top 3 riders, as I understand it, that can take one of his rides is Leon Flint.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest's down to Callum and the reserves.
That's right.
Obviously, they're not going to score as many points. That combination won't score as many points as Daniel would have done. So that's going to be a lot of that's going to be down to Lawrence Rogers being as cute with when he uses different riders as he can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder whether it would be an idea to put that rider replacement at number 2.
Maybe a good point there. So.
Yeah, I think that might be gives more options. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see. But it's not as bad as it was before when we was losing those matches because of course Leon is there.
That's
Leon,
right.
we had so.
That's right. Yeah. So.
But it's going to be tough. I mean, I think we beat Coventry.
Well,
I think we beat Coventry.
Yeah, I think I do fancy Birmingham to win that tomorrow. To be fair, but I mean, the last time Coventry came to Perry Bar, it was a really, really entertaining meeting. So hopefully we can see that again. So,
to be honest, I want an easy win. I just want to get the 4 points. If I'm truthful, it's that part of the season. I was looking at the Plymouth match as well because, of course, James Shanes won't be there, and strangely, that gives us a better situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because it means we can have a guest for Danyon and operate rider replacement for James Shane.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, that means, more of our top riders can take his rides than they can Danyon's.
Yeah.
I think all of them can.
Yeah.
So that actually, in a strange way, improves us.
Yes, Lawrence Rogers said, yes, Paul was hard on Danyon, so he agrees with you on that one, I think, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got to tell you because it was funny. Paul Hurry was christened he was christened a different name by some of the supporters. We called him Dirty Hurry.
Yeah, mate.
And we thought that was quite good. Dirty Harry, Dirty Hurry. But anyway, just fun.
Yeah,
just fun.
Absolutely,
as you do.
And of course, we've got the small matter of that interleague challenge against Peterborough. What was your reaction to that news?
Well, I was in Sweden at the time, so my reaction was a little bit drunk.
Yeah.
At that point. I'll be honest with you, it's not the news that I was wanting to hear. It's sort of a halfway house towards the news I was wanting to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made no secret that, I want to see us go up a league because I like the racing. I understand the reasons for the reticence and, with current crowd levels and so on. So I do understand that. But, just speaking from a selfish point of view, I'd like to see some higher league racing. So I'm going to say something here that I know Lawrence isn't going to confirm or say anything about this because I don't imagine that he can. But 6-man team format, I think we're trialling it out for the BSPA.
It wouldn't be a massive surprise, I don't think. It wouldn't be a massive surprise. We have had 6-man teams before one season, I think a few years ago, but it would.
They did it in the
yeah, I think it was '97. I think they did it. So, but it wouldn't be a total surprise. Obviously, with rider availability and doubling up, and that might be a way that they're looking at going. To be honest, with the 6-man teams, I'm not comfortable with 6-man teams, but could understand maybe the reasoning for doing it.
Well, to be honest, at Birmingham, we're getting used to 6-man teams at the moment. So.
Well, we beat Bellevue with 5 men's yesterday, so that's. But I'm not. I say I'm not advocating having 5-man teams, mind you, but.
No, please, no. Yes, I think that's going on. So, I was slightly disappointed in it, but then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, okay, I can see the sense in it, So I'm hoping that it's supported quite well. It's just been a bit of a dent, a dent in it because one of the Brummie riders that we would have riding for Birmingham would have been Daniel, of course.
Yeah.
But, if I'm honest, I would love to see Nico Cavati ride for us.
It would be nice.
Yeah, because obviously he's got a history with Birmingham. So, I'm sticking that one out there.
Do we know who Tom Bacon's going to be riding for? Because I'm presuming he will be there. He's going to be there that night, I would have thought. Yeah.
Yeah, he's likely to be there.
Yeah.
He's going to be running for Peterborough.
Yeah, he's not going to race with Peterborough in one race and then rush over to the changing rooms and get changed into Birmingham Kevlars. So you would
race against him.
Yeah, or have one of them half and half race suits with a Birmingham and one half Peterborough on the other. Which you wouldn't put past Speedway promoters to do that. To be fair,
Tommy Cooper of Speedway. Do the Tommy Cooper of Speedway.
Yeah, you wouldn't put it past Speedway to do something like that, though, mind you. But
no, I mean. I don't know what to say about that. I obviously want to see him riding for us, but he is a Peterborough asset, so that's the way it's gone. Talking to Tom Bacon, we say this week after week, but yesterday again, he was just absolutely outstanding. And again showed that he's added to his passing from behind. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure whether it was Nathan Stoneman. He hunted him for 3 laps, got closer and closer and closer, and then just took him inches on the line. I mean, you could, and it was a well-considered, almost a Jason Lyons-esque move it was.
That's high praise, that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, absolutely. Just the way he hunted him down, didn't make his move until he was ready to make his move. And we've seen Tom Bacon in previous years try to make a move and cock it all up and end up miles behind. None of that. Knew what he was doing. Very impressive. Very impressive, I thought. I
think it's a confidence thing with Tom, and it's something now that he's added to his bow, if you like, for being a rider. So, and as I say, I've said before, we've said before, everything about Tom Bacon is hugely impressive with his professionalism, his setup, the way he speaks. I think he's got a great future in the sport if he can keep that up.
I think he has, and I think he's a surprise in that regard for people.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a late developer, but better late than never, I suppose you could say in that sense. But
he's sensible. I think Daniel Hume, if I may be critical a little bit, I don't want to be, can possibly learn from how Tom Bacon goes about things, because we blame the track a little bit for Tom's fall yesterday, and it certainly played a part, but I'll tell you what else played a part. He was busting a gut. I don't know whether you know what happened in that heat, but Tom Bacon fell off while trying to go round. Daniel Hume fell off while trying to go round. I think it might have been Nathan Stoneman, but I could be wrong on that. And he came off. He just took too much speed into the bend and came off, really busting a gut. Unfortunately, Sheldon Davis, who was in second place at that point, then fell off. Daniel Hume had got back on his bike and was really busting a gut to catch up to the last person who was one of the reserves. I can't remember which one. The referee actually should have turned the red lights on, by the way.
Possibly, yeah.
Daniel came racing around the outside, didn't know he was there, nearly went into Sheldon Davis, who had to run out of the way, nearly collected the bike on the floor. So that was bad. That should have been red lighted right there. But he carried on, even then, trying to catch up, and he was so close to catching him up, and he really put an extra effort in on the last bend, and that's part of the reason why he came off. So I think sometimes he just needs to say, okay, 5-1 is better than the 5-9.
Possibly in the same boat as Ben Barker, I think that was maybe something you could have levelled him at him as well, in fairness. So... Yeah, I think
I mean, but hopefully, he needs to learn from it, because he needs to not have all these injuries, doesn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, obviously, it's one.
This is hypercritical because as a supporter, you want to see your riders bust in the gut. So it's but anyway,
absolutely,
there you go.
Yeah. So. Right, well, I think we'll leave it there, shall we?
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
obviously, hopefully, you'll get yourself sorted out with your wallet and all that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Absolutely, yeah. So
I'm guessing there's probably not a lot in it anyway.
Just want to say one more thing about the GP. I just want to say one more thing about the GP, which is what Ty Woffington said, which I thought was absolutely spot on. And he said, "You win world championships on your bad nights, not on your good nights."
Yeah, I think that's a great thing.
And that was his worst night, and he still got to the final. I mean,
yeah. He's just doing the minimum now. Okay then. Well, hopefully we'll be back to normal next time we're all together again. So.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay then.
I don't want to lose my wallet too. Yeah, you take care.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, see you guys. Take them out. See you soon.
Okay,
Bye.
Bye.
Bugger off.
No, that was a bit uncalled for, wasn't it? So. Yeah. Should also just pause for a moment as well. Of course, sadly, Speedway lost one of its all-time greats a couple of weeks ago in Ronnie Moore. Of course, the former world champion from 1954 and 1959, a legend at Wimbledon Speedway. I've just sent something to you. I don't know if you want to play that as a tribute to Ronnie a bit later on. But Ronnie, of course, passed away after a short illness in his native New Zealand, and of course, so our thoughts and prayers go to Ronnie's family at this sad time. Unfortunately, a bit before my time, but my dad certainly remembers him. My dad said he was the most complete rider he ever saw. So so rest in peace, Ronnie. We send our best wishes to your family and friends.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack a bit now because I've lost a lot of the comments. But one of the comments was about Somerset. What do you think their chances were this season?
I think they've got a decent chance.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think you're looking at the playoffs at the moment. I think Poole, Somerset, and Kings Lynn probably will be there. I think Bellevue will get the fourth spot. Then I think it's just going to be about who manages to get the top spot, and because I've got a feeling whoever gets the top spot will probably pick Bellevue. If it's Bellevue, well, if Wolves are there, they'll certainly pick Wolves first because Wolves can't win away from home. But I do fancy Somerset to do well. I mean, I think having Jason Doyle there has been a real. Even though Jason's had a bad season in the GPs, he's done pretty well in the league this season. I think that's really been a big boost to Somerset having the world champion in your side of the pits. But yeah, I mean,
who's the biggest challenge here for Somerset?
I would say Poole at the moment.
Yeah.
I think Poole obviously had a terrible start to the season, but they made some. I think when they went to Lakeside, Leicester and won. I think that was their first away win of the season, and that really sort of turned their season around, if you like. And they brought Chris Harris in as well. Chris Harris has been really rejuvenated since he's gone to Poole. It's a track that he's always done well at. So yeah, Poole. I certainly would never write Poole off because Poole have done it so many times in the past. They've done the business at the business end of the season. But I think it's got the potential. I mean, Kings Lynn whether Kings Lynn can do enough away from home is going to be another matter. I think at a time they're more than strong enough to beat anybody, but it's if they have to go away first and maybe have a bad night away from home, it might be a bit of a struggle for them to pull it back. But I think personally, it's going to be a Poole Somerset final.
Do you?
Yeah, that would be my gut feeling.
Okay, if you had to put your life on it.
On winning, who wins it? Paul.
Paul? All right, okay.
Hate saying that.
Right, okay. Earlier on, just before the show, I had a chap posted. Steve Andrews posted a letter.
I think I've seen this. Actually,
yeah, I think he'd written to the. And if you've got it up there, I've got it anyway here. But he wrote to the Speedway Star. A few suggestions really, and I've suggested this before, but it fell on deaf ears last time. Here's some of his ideas. For next season, forget the GP riders and have two top divisions split, north and south. We have talked about this before anyway.
Yeah.
But this, of course, based on no teams closing down or replacements, crikey, coming in. And should the likes of Lakeside close, maybe get Ryehouse back in or Eastbourne to replace them. In the Northern League, he's gone for Berwick, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Newcastle, Redcar, Scunthorpe, Sheffield, Workington and Bellevue. And the Southern Midlands League, he's gone for Ipswich, Lakeside, Peterborough, Swindon, Poole, Somerset, Wolves, Kings Lynn and Leicester. Ooh, thoughts on that bit before we go any further?
I have considered the idea of Northern Southern leagues in the past, and I think in the past it's been possibly something they could have looked at. I'm not so sure whether they do it now, to be honest. I mean, the one thing looking at that there is that Bellevue and Wolves wouldn't be in the same divisions. And I think that would be a big disappointment for both sets of promotions because that's usually their biggest crowds of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking at it from that sort of point of view.
I mean, something similar in football where they try to marry up a few local derbies. I think. That's. Yeah, it's true. This cuts down on all travel for all teams and fans. Each team meeting other home and away twice. 16 meetings for each club. Regular speedway on their chosen race night. No fixed race nights. No need for doubling up riders. Meetings run over 15 heats plus second half racing like in the good old days. A couple of junior heats plus top scorers heats with a final. More racing, better value for money.
I think we'd all agree with more racing and better value for money. I
think Paul's not. He's come back with not many northern tracks could compete with the finances involved. Of course, that's going to be a major factor.
That would be a problem, yeah.
Major, yeah.
I mean, if say for example, next season Glasgow moved into the top league, their local derby would be Bellevue. It's still an awful long way away between Glasgow and Manchester. So,
yeah, I agree.
But looking at that, I mean, I think Paul mentions there about is it Paul? Is that the guy's name? I think Paul mentions there about no doubling up riders.
Yeah.
I think the problem is the riders want the doubling up because they want the extra meetings, which you can't really blame them for that. I would love to see the end of doubling up. To be honest, I think it was. I think I think I've mentioned before when it initially came in 2002. I think it was initially only going to be for young English riders, and they were only going to be allowed to do it for a couple of years, and then they'd have to make a choice whether they wanted to go into the top league or stay in the second league. But I think one or two clubs then decided to sort of get permission to use other riders as doubling up riders, and it's now just gone completely out of control. They've just and it's created a chronic shortage of riders. I mean, we've mentioned about the prospect of one big league. I'm not convinced there'd be enough riders to do it. To be honest, I mean, there might be enough riders, but it's whether that many riders would want to commit to racing a full programme of 20-30 meetings over a season.
Yeah. Paul said it wasn't him who talked about doubling up.
Yeah.
But he has come back with that have the junior races first, leading to main event. I think that's probably a better idea myself. Have the junior races first. Don't you think, to whet people's appetites? Or
the only thing possible issue with that would be if the conditions aren't very good, or if it starts raining during the junior meetings and then it rains to an extent where the meeting gets called off.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. I understand why the junior ride, why obviously juniors want to get a chance to race in meetings, racing. Try and race competitively, because at the end of the day, they're not going to learn anything riding around on their own. They need to be racing with other riders. So, yeah. Tommy, we have seen your. We did see your wallet jokes, but we didn't want to kick him out when he was down. So.
No, he's lost all his money, all his credit cards now. We didn't want to kick him while he was down, but they were good jokes, Tomo. Well done.
I do like the one about him chasing a bloke who nicked his wallet then, so then he gave him a good run for his money.
Yeah.
So,
Funny. I'll just carry on with this, and then we'll get back to Tomo. Actually, and the playoffs, he says, top of the Northern meets runners up in the Southern, 2 legs home and away. Top of the Southern meets runners up in the Northern, 2 legs home and away.
Yeah.
Player final decide British champions, neutral track. Yes, I think that's a great idea. 1 leg shootout or 2 legs home and away.
the only thing with a neutral track is, when do you choose the neutral track?
Yeah.
Because if you chose, say, for example, to have the final at Glasgow, and it's the finals between Scunthorpe and Swindon, it's a blooming long way for both sets of fans to travel. And to be fair, away fans don't travel as much as they used to now.
No.
Because at the end of the day, petrol costs a fortune. It's people work longer hours. So.
I know we've spoken about it before, but Speedway fans do need their day out.
It's a good idea in theory.
I think so. Knockout Cup, round 1, based on 18 teams. 2 matches: Northern team versus Southern team, 2 legs home and away. Round 2, Northern team versus Southern teams, where possible, 2 legs. Round 3, 8 teams, Northern versus Southern, where possible. Round 4, Northern versus Southern, if possible. And round 5, the final 2 legs, says Stephen.
I'd like the Knockout Cup to start a bit later, to be honest, because I think the problem with the Knockout Cup is it starts usually the first week of the season, first couple of weeks of the season. I think that's too early.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bad start to your league campaign, then you go out the Knockout Cup. Technically, your season could be over by the end of April, and that's going to cause a problem, because you've got nothing to go for, and then it's going to affect crowd sizes. I'd like to see the Knockout Cup maybe start end of May, early June, possibly. So if you've had a bad start in the league, and then you might be being able to strengthen your side, then at least you've got something then you can go for.
Yeah, or maybe spread out a bit. Or
spread out a bit, yeah. I think the problem is the Knockout Cup tends to get the rough edge of the stick in terms of shunting fixtures around, to be honest. Again, we're talking about the fact that there's not enough meetings, but we're still got clubs now trying to cram in double headers, which is a nightmare. I don't like double headers.
No.
To be honest, I never have done. It's because they just drag on and whatnot. So it's
It was Steve who spoke about the double up. He says, I did. The sport is a joke at the moment. I followed Speedway all over the world all my life, but the British scene right now is a joke. Yeah,
I just wonder whether we all know that Speedway has got problems. I think even the promoters now have acknowledged that they need to do something. I just wonder whether maybe they've let it go too far.
Yeah.
To be honest, it's probably going to need complete root and branch surgery, just rip it up and start again. Even if that maybe means riding with a very, very sort of low quality, not being disrespectful to the riders in the lower leagues, but sort of a lower quality than it is now, just to try and. I think the provincial league in the 60s. That was sort of a lot of riders that were maybe past their best. They then became the stars in that league, and fans flocked to. It's obviously very, very different now, because of course young kids in those days didn't have these things attached to their hands all the time. So
then we've got a comment from a young lady called Linda Buck.
I don't think it is. I think it's. I think it might be her husband actually logged in
right,
as Linda Bucks.
When considering any kind of merger of the leagues, we need to bear in mind the fact that no promoter is going to vote for anything which increases costs. That's an important fact and probably means that this won't happen. Doubling up was a nonsensical idea which is now out of control. Promoters won't ever be able to get rid of it because the riders now believe that they have a divine right to ride for two teams and won't give this privilege up. Probably spot on there.
Yeah, it is. It is spot on.
Yeah. Well said, Linda, said Steve, but how would it increase costs? More local meetings? That is the problem.
You got more. Well, you'd have more meetings, wouldn't you? That's the. And then of course you wouldn't have as much leeway with write-offs.
Yeah, it's true.
And then you got to try, and then you got to do what they're doing again now, and rushing all the double headers and race on off nights.
Just to finish off Steve's letter to the Speedway Star, it goes on to individual, Northern Riders Champion, Southern Riders Championship. Top 8 in each to British League Riders Championship. And if there's still room in the calendar, a 4-team tournament featuring the top 8 teams in each league.
They used to have the 14 tournament regionally when I first started watching Speedo, because it always used to be Walls, Bellevue, Bradford and Cradley in the one group, and then they have the Force final. I think it was always Peterborough in those days. So that was always something quite unique, to be honest. Whether they could do it now, I think somebody mentioned this to one of the Wolves forums I went to with Chris Van Stratton, and Chris was quite vocal in the fact that he's now not really willing to put on meetings other than league, because if he doesn't, there's nothing really riding on it. I mean, he doesn't do challenge meetings at all now, because challenge meetings don't attract people anymore. Even when you get because you're not going to get a strong, especially towards the end of the season, you're not going to get much of a strong quality of field, to be honest.
Do you think it's a different sport now? I mean, there's so many changes and chopping and changing, and rule regulations change over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
The sport is still, when it's run properly, is still a very, very exciting sport.
Oh, yeah.
The product is still very, very good. It's just the politics and the little, I think we've mentioned this word before, haven't we? Perception.
Yeah. People
perceive that there's a fiddle going on or something, and it doesn't really. I don't think the BSBA do themselves any favour sometimes, but in fairness to them, it is a thankless job being a speedo promoter. It's something that I wouldn't do, to be honest. Yeah.
Somebody mentioned today on actually a football forum, saying that it's a great sport, really exciting sport run by idiots. Basically.
I think the phrase I've heard before is professional sport run by amateurs. But
Nigel says the sport. Oh crikey! The sport lost too many riders years ago when promoters picked 10 or 11-point riders for heats 13 and 15. Then made up the team with the 3-point reserves. I saw a number of 6 to 7 pointers disappear from the sport, says Nigel.
I think one of the things is with averages, it's a situation where it punishes successful riders and rewards riders who fail, because a rider has a bad season, and invariably he's much sought after in the winter, because people think, well, he's had a bad season, but he's going to be on a bargain of an average. Whereas if you've had a good season, that's why earlier in the season when I was concerned about the prospect for Birmingham of Leon Flint missing the remainder of the season, which meant he was going to be stuck on quite a high average, and it was going to be difficult for him to find another club, which would have been a real shame. But
Steve said, hence my point. Rip it up and start again. North and South, come on, stop being so negative. And Stephen Bradford said, bring back 13 heats and second halves, 40-38 results.
Happiness is 40-38, I think was the old saying years ago, wasn't it? So,
Steve Andrews said, in the old days we had 30 meetings a season.
Be great to have that. It would be great to have that again with huge quality field all the way through the league. But
definitely.
I think we've got to get the basics right first before we start worrying about adding little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I didn't think we'd get through this show.
We could probably
go
for a
another
minute,
hour.
yeah. We probably could. Yeah. Let's not chance it though. So.
All right, okay. So we'll just round off. We'll round off from Tomo. He says, just reading the Wolves website, Peter Adams was saying he was looking for a guest for Rushline, but there is no one suitable, which would indicate Wolves will be allowed a guest Rushline when they want. Okay.
Yeah, well, he's number one, so... Well, I think when the new averages come out, I think Sam Masters will be the number one. So, but for now, Rory Sloan is top of the averages. So,
apparently, you're so negative.
Oh, I do apologise.
Oh well.
I don't like to be, but
negative. What? Anyway, thanks for listening. It's been a pleasure, and thank you, Mr. Book. We managed to get through the whole hour.
We did well, yeah.
Interluded, is that the right word? Interrupted by some...
It's a word. So.
Interrupted by some guy who said he'd lost his wallet and he don't believe it. Thanks for listening. See you again next week.
See ya.
Good night.
Yep.
To the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the